Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. I wanted to end this tap session by taking some time to talk about cloud management powered by iOS XE, regardless of which mode you choose. The goal is simple, help you get more from your existing network with less complexity. We all started with console port, telnet, and SSH, tried and true. But let's be honest, as networks grow, as more users and devices plug in, those traditional methods are starting to show their age. We're seeing scalability issues because everything is device by device, deployments take forever, troubleshooting is a manual grind, human error is a real thing, and visibility often feels like you're looking through a keyhole. We're just hitting the limits of what traditional tools can do for modern demands. Roughly 80% of IT teams say reducing network complexity is their top priority, and it's easy to see why. Most teams are spending close to a third of their time reacting to issues, chasing down outages, or putting out fires. With the ongoing skill shortage, it's often those same few people handling it all, soup to bolts. That constant firefighting takes a toll on labor cost, opportunity cost, and time away from other projects. The network should act as a utility, not a constraint. The answer isn't throwing away what works, it's combining strengths. You get the ease of a cloud managed platform while keeping the full feature set and control of iOS XE. You can still access CLI when you need it, but day-to-day tasks become faster and more visual. It's about simplifying operations without losing capability. And as you can see here, we're going to be mainly focused on our switching, but we have opened this up to our SD-WAN and routing with our traditional MX devices, but also our secure routers. And you'll see some other exciting announcements as we move on. So not every environment wants to move fully into the cloud on day one. And a lot of environments can't because, brownfield. You can manage devices entirely from the dashboard or keep others under local CLI control. You decide what fits your operations. That's a religious discussion for you and your SC. The point is flexibility, not forcing one model across your entire network. We've also seen a lot of times where users will go to cloud config for just the access layer, and then once they're comfortable with that, maybe they'll graduate. But today we'll be highlighting features supported for both options. If you've used Meraki, you're familiar with Dashboard. It's simple, cloud-based, and intuitive. That same simplicity now extends to Catalyst. Zero-touch provisioning brings devices online quickly. The dashboard provides live health, performance data, centralized alerts, and guided troubleshooting to reduce downtime and MTTR. If you're not familiar with the dashboard, everything is grouped under an organization. From a single view, you can see your entire network health, device counts, firmware compliance, and more. It's a consolidated at-a-glance view that replaces multiple tools and logins. So if you're like extremely distributed, as a lot of people are here in Philly, because we have a lot of manufacturing and a lot of banking. Um, so you might have a West Coast, a East Coast, a South America, that type of thing, instead of having to log into each of those individually. Sorry, my dog just walked in. Having to log into each of those individually, you kind of see everything in one place without having to deploy all of that extra infrastructure. So once the switch is onboarded, the switch overview gives you real-time visibility, alerting, and performance across your network. You can tag devices, move them between networks, or clone configurations easily. If you're going to also remove a switch, it's still in your inventory ready to use. You just decide when you're going to move it back into the other network. The detailed view gives you per device insights, ports, modules, uptime, firmware, DNS, and you can see your connected clients. It flags issues automatically so you can address them without digging through device logs. You'll also find layer 3 routing info, event logs, and quick access to the secure cloud CLI, and also troubleshooting tools, which is pretty cool. Going further into that client connectivity, when users report problems, you can isolate the root cause quickly. You can see the network path, you can see the network details, run packet captures, ping, cable test, and even send wake on LAN actions directly from the dashboard. You also get real-time and historical usage by application and port. So troubleshooting goes from guesswork to data-driven. As you see in the screenshot here, here's the whole network path. And if you actually have Thousand Eyes, this can extend all the way to the application. So that's where, integrations matter. For a deeper analysis, built-in packet capture lets you filter by interface or protocol. Intelligent capture adds context to issues you're facing to pinpoint issues faster. As you can see here, I guess you really can't, should have made this bigger. In the screenshot, there's ARP and ICMP and DNS issues. This is what intelligent capture is. Like it tells you what it is without having to go into that full PCAP, but you still can. So if you're still looking to go into that full PCAP because you're a nerd like me, then you can still do that, or you can still download that and look at it through Wireshark. For those who do prefer that command line control, we've embedded a secure Cloud CLI terminal directly in the dashboard. So that means no VPN or jump host required. You get familiar iOS XE commands with cloud-based access and audit logging, keeping both control and compliance intact. I'm sure your security teams would love that. The dashboard automatically tracks configuration history. You can review previous versions, compare differences, and roll back if needed. It's built-in change tracking that improves accountability and recovery. A view we're all kind of similar, like used to, but it does help, and it's definitely easy to go back in there, even on the small things like ports being moved or configurations being moved. You'll see that more in the event log rather than having to go and see if there was like a port connected or a port like reconfigured. If you don't know who's in there, if you don't have local IT, or if people have network admin access, this kind of gives you that full visualization, but keep in mind, you still have the event log. Firmware updates are handled in a single pane. Firmware versions are organized by stable release, candidate, and beta. You can view current versions, schedule upgrades, and access release notes directly in the dashboard. It keeps your environment consistent and secure without manual coordination. As you can see here, here's all the different device types, but it kind of shows you it's everything in one place, which is great because I remember managing cameras and that was a whole other system. So it's cool to see everything kind of in that same standardization. Going over here to the scheduled upgrades, you can either schedule them or you can do them right from there. All you do is target selection and schedule. It's really that simple.
Actually throw in there too, there's a mobile app for the dashboard as well, and you can initiate those firmware updates through the mobile app. So if you've got it pre-staged up, you're waiting for that change window later in the evening, you can kick it off from your sofa and then validate that all of the services have come back up as you would expect once the upgrade is completed.
And it just works. Like the upgrades it's so good, they're so quick. It's such a difference versus like trying to have a jump host, trying to get telnet, having an FTP on your computer because nobody actually manages an FTP server. Doing all those types of things, it does make it a lot quicker. And it is nice to have the mobile app. I wish I would have had that when I was still on the customer side. We do have AI Assistant, which brings analytics and automation together. Again, going back to that Thousand Eyes piece, if you did have Thousand Eyes, you could ask it like, why is this user having issues connecting to Azure? That type of thing. It surfaces anomalies, recommended actions, and it can execute workflows. Right here, I just put, can you perform a health check on Meraki, San Francisco SFO 12 network to make sure my switches and access points are following best practices? Pretty cool. It kind of shows you everything, what the recommendations are, where you're at in that status, and documentation. But again, this can also be utilized for troubleshooting, and it can also be utilized for, hey, I don't remember how to do that AI RRM thing. Like, how do I configure that? And it'll tell you step by step on which ways to go about that. Josh will be showing us some more about that in his demo. And also, I just wanted to say, there are a lot of different types of integrations. There's the native integrations, which you would expect, and we cannot get wrong, like Splunk and Thousand Eyes. But then there's the other integrations too, like Terraform and some of the other network access management systems that I'm not going to say. Splash Access, and we've also opened up our APIs as well. So it's a different type of Cisco than you're kind of used to. We're a lot more integrated than before, and we have a lot more integrations that are like a few clicks, but we also allow you to do your own thing. So that's nice. It's opened up the conversation a lot more, and it allows us to actually help you a lot more as well. So with iOS XE 17.18 beta, advanced features like BGP, VRF, ISSU, and virtual stacking are coming, and they're manageable through the dashboard. The goal remains the same: retain enterprise-grade power while simplifying day-to-day operations. That's what we mean by going beyond the CLI, whether or not you keep it. Onboarding is straightforward. Claim a device, choose your management mode, and you're up and running. No scripts or separate tools required. That alone saves you a lot in labor cost. In a few clicks, the switch is online and visible in the dashboard. From there, you can decide to manage it from the cloud or maintain local control. And Bill will actually be showing us in the demo right after me what that looks like. So I'll stop sharing and hand it over to you, Bill.
Thanks, Eric. Sorry. So real quick, Eric, just to, so you were saying in the beginning that, in the core, customers can run in on-device configuration mode, and then in the access later, it's cloud configuration mode.
That's
and
what
then,
we've seen some people do because they're just not ready
Yeah,
to go
comfortable.
full cloud config,
Yeah.
which is fine. I get that.
Yeah, but all those features that you outlined are available to them regardless of which mode, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we
Okay.
did not have a slides for that internally for some reason. So I did have to build these out and kind of say, hey, regardless of this, but there is even more you can do depending on which version, which way you go. But I just wanted to kind of focus in on, hey, no matter what you do, you're going to get an advantage from putting it in dashboard.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Eric. Just validating that everybody can see my desktop.
Sir?
Yep, I see it.
Excellent. So my name is William Nichols. I'm an SE with the Philly Select team. And I'm just going to show you a quick video on how I was able to onboard my 9200 into my Meraki dashboard. There's a couple little nuances that I'm going to go over. I'm going to be stopping and starting a little bit, but it's a pretty simple process. So basically, the first thing you need to do is validate that your device itself can actually even be onboarded into the dashboard. So here's compatibility check. Okay, I'm going to validate. I do have the 9200 48T 4X. So that device can be onboarded into the dashboard. There's some minimum requirements that are going to need to be checked upon. And we'll provide this URL for you so you can take a look to make sure that you have the at least minimum standard of iOS XE. And I believe it's 17.15 that you're going to need. And I made sure that my switch had that because I wanted to do a couple more things after I onboarded it. Obviously, one would be to see how easy it would be to upgrade firmware to get it to the latest version. So I'm compatible. The next steps I need to take are, all right, I need to make sure that my device is configured correctly. Once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and, okay, enter it in CompT and add and implement Service Meraki Connect. Now, when I did that on my first try, you'll notice that, okay, yeah, it's been enabled, but where's the information? I'm missing a whole lot of information. So I did a show Meraki Connect, and you'll see here that nothing's working. I'm like, what's going on? None of my tunnels are up. The status has failed. All right, what did I do wrong? So what I did was I went back to the Meraki dashboard. I'm like, okay, using the AI assistant, I said, hey, how do I troubleshoot this? It gave me a couple pointers, take a look at a few things. And the most obvious thing, which I failed to do, was configure DNS properly, right? Big mistake. So once I had DNS configured properly, all I had to go on to my switch and say, all right, let's ping dashboard.meraki.com, and boom, I was in. So jumping ahead here a little bit, you can see now, hey, the fetch was successful. I have my tunnels up. I'm able to access it. And if you look right here where it says Cloud ID, that's the piece that you're going to need. So once I have the Cloud ID, I go over to my Meraki dashboard, I log in. And I'm going to go over to my inventory. And you're going to see a list of my switches here. And basically what I'm doing is I'm going to hit the claim devices. I'm going to go back, copy and paste my Cloud ID into this area. Claim the order. And boom. It's in dashboard. Now, I have to assign it to a network next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, this device, oh, prior to that, I wanted to make sure that I had the right device. Just validating the serial number. Hey, everything lines up. It looks great. The next step is say, choose the network that I want to actually connect this device to. And here I'm going to choose, again, for this scenario, we're just doing cloud configuration. So you're going to see once you select cloud configuration, you're going to get prompted, hey, you connect this to the cloud, it's going to erase the existing configuration on the device, and it's going to be managed, monitored, and configured through the cloud through your Meraki dashboard. That whole process took maybe 10 minutes at max. Once you hit next here, there's a couple more things that it needs to do. I think it was about another 5 minutes when I heard the switch reboot, and it was in my dashboard and everything was up and running. And from there, I can configure it, install new firmware, whatever it needed. That's simple. So I'm going to hand that back over to Josh.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bill.
And Josh, right before you
Yeah.
start, I just wanted to let everybody know I put a link in the chat, and that's like a 2-hour deep dive into what Bill was showcasing, and that'll go with, device config, cloud config, the differences, operating modes, rolling back, all those types of things. Again, that was 2 hours, so we kind of try to condense that and kind of showcase more and focus more on what you can do with both.
And Eric, at that point, the AI assistant helped me out tremendously. I didn't even have to open a ticket up when I ran into problems. Just hit your AI assistant up, gave me all the right information I needed.
Yeah, I love it. I'm starting to get a little lazy, to be honest.
Yeah, it's funny. So now that we have the switch onboarded, my goal was to kind of walk through a day in the life. And nowadays with the AI assistant, that's actually going to be a big part of the presentation. Something that I really love about our AI assistant is certainly it will help you find documentation, troubleshoot with you, and sort of give you pointers in the right direction. But you can also ask it to roll up its sleeves and really do some work for you. So my goal today is to really walk through, as a network engineer, oftentimes we're asked to perform some security tasks, maybe in preparation for an audit of some sort. So what I'll walk through today is kind of that workflow where I might have had some audit findings and I need to actually go remediate those using the dashboard. So the very first finding that the auditors came back with was we have a number of switch ports that are open and enabled, but maybe they're not passing any traffic. And as you'll see a little bit later, we're still working on wired.1x. So from a security standpoint, it's probably best that we have those ports shut down prior to just to close off any sort of security gap there. And once we get the .1x configurations completed, then it'd be fine. But for now, it's a little bit of a gap, and we want to go ahead and mitigate that. So at this point, I'm actually going to ask the assistant to show me any ports that should be down because they haven't passed traffic in the last couple of weeks. And when I mentioned rolling up your sleeves, having the AI assistant do that for you, you can see here, it actually went out, it crunched all of the ports, and it said, hey, this is the port that hasn't passed any traffic. And it gave it to me in a tabular format. So from here, I know it's really easy to just go in and say, port 6 is really the culprit here. This is what the auditors are going to be looking at. So I'll just close my assistant here. I've selected port 6. As you'll notice, you can select multiple ports as well. If I had gotten, a list of ports back as opposed to just one, I could simply add more. But in this case, I know that the delta is really just port 6. So I'll go ahead and set this to disabled. And I'll update that. And as Eric talked a lot about, it really isn't, CLI versus dashboard. You still have access to the CLI. So what I'd like to do is actually jump in and validate from a CLI perspective that the change I just made is actually taking effect. And you'll notice I clicked the launch terminal option. Now I'm right at home here on the command line. So I'll go ahead and run that standard iOS XE command just to show the interface. And in this case, we chose port 6. And what we'll see now is that this port is actually administratively down. So I like to say trust but verify, right? Not only did I make the change in the dashboard, but I can now go under the hood, see exactly what's happening from a configuration standpoint. And it's a way for me to validate that the change I've made has taken effect and it did exactly what I would have expected there. So that was the first audit finding I had. The second one I wanted to look at, as I mentioned a bit earlier, was .1x. We're still working through that from a wired standpoint, but really what I'd like to see is which ports don't have a .1x policy in the environment. I could go run the report, but as Eric mentioned, sometimes we like to be a little bit lazy. I'd like to offload this work. So I'll go ahead and just ask the assistant to run that for me. And you can see it's kind of crunching the data. It's going out, it's looking for access switches. It's making sure that it's validating if there is a .1x policy applied. And what you'll see here is it's come back and it said, hey, none of the first 10 ports have a policy. If you wanted to check a specific range, if you wanted to check a specific switch, you have that option. I could give it more context if I needed a bit of a different report. But in this case, I know there's no .1x at all. That's obviously a gap. I want to close that before the auditors come back. So same as the port shutdown that we just did, I know from my own research that ports 21 and 22 are access ports. They're on the 198 VLAN. Our team had decided that these should have the .1x policy. So I've selected both here. I'm going to go up and select edit. And in one fell swoop, I can easily assign my .1x policy to these ports. And I'm just going to go ahead and make that update.
And Josh, I
Yeah,
just
go
want to
ahead.
highlight something. Standardization is huge, right? Like we're only as good as we are standardized because when you think about how secure your networks or how your network is configured, your first assumption is your standard. And the way that you do it in dashboard is very helpful in that scenario because you're building that 802.1x policy once and then applying it to many versus configuring the 802.1x policy for every single port.
Right.
And then you find out that port is not even an access port or it's a trunk port, and then it turns back into an access port, and is that config still there? So that's another reason why that automation matters.
Totally
Thanks, Josh.
agree. And if we even think about the shut versus no shut example, if I was just running on the CLI, I would have to have an SNMP collector or some sort of trap or some sort of ancillary type technology to understand port usage over a period of time. So just the power of the platform, as Eric's describing, I think makes all of our jobs a little bit easier. But again, in that trust but verify mentality, I'd like to just validate that the change we just made actually took effect. So let's get our command typed in here. We did it on ports 21 and 22. And you'll see I have .1x info here. If we look at one of the other ports that I didn't make this change for, let's say port 11, just as an example, we'll see we get no response back. So this is just a great way of validating that, hey, the policy I had in mind did apply. Just for good measure, we'll check port 22 as well, but we expect to see the same output there. So very good. We know that change was successful. It did exactly what we needed. And I've actually validated that. So we're ready for the auditors when they come back for round 2. Now, certainly it's Friday. All of us hate making changes like this on a Friday. You never know what could go wrong, especially given that it's Halloween. So the last thing I'll leave us with here is we can actually ask the AI assistant to perform a health check for us, and it will go out and validate that none of the changes that I've just made have caused some sort of interruption that I wouldn't expect. So let's go ahead and ask that. And what it's doing, it's going through all the alerts, it's checking infrastructure scores, wireless scores, making sure there's no sudden drops. By default, it'll check over the last 2 hours. Certainly, I could specify a longer time frame if I'd like. But this is a quick and easy way of just doing a sanity check after you make changes, regardless of if it's on a Friday. You can see we're a 97 out of 100 on overall network. My client score is a 99 out of 100, so I'm feeling okay about those changes that I just made. Very good. And now I know if there are any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm not sure if we've seen any yet, Eric or Bill, if y'all have seen anything there.
I will say this, with the 2960s, 3750s, all that becoming end of life, and a lot of people getting into that new 9000 family series, you do have entitlement to a lot of this. So just check if you have a DNA license, you probably have entitlement. If you want to go cloud config, you don't have to order it that way. You can order the switch in a -M mode, and that'll come already cloud config. So just some quick things to think about. You want to stop the recording?
Yeah. It doesn't look like we have any questions.